State Senator Marlon Kimpson is fired up about a lot of issues facing District 42 and the state of South Carolina. In this special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I sit down with him one-on-one. So here we sit inside your law office here in Mount Pleasant. Right next door is the Arthur Avenue Bridge. And as you know, the talk around the town right now is the Charleston Area Justice Ministry. They will have an event at Mount Moriah Baptist Church tonight. And 3 people are basically not attending. You have Charleston Police Chief Greg Mullen, you have North Charleston Police Chief Eddie Dragers, and of course North Charleston Mayor Keith Sonny, who both declined their invitations. And Sonny told the Post-Inquiry quote last week, "I'm not going to change my mind. I would greatly appreciate it if these folks that are so concerned in their churches will go into their communities and witness to kids and gangs and fill up their churches with these people, and our jobs will be a lot simpler. That's how they can work with us, not tell us how to do our job. Go into the churches and the communities and witness to kids and gangs." That really has me thinking, Marlon, is that enough?
Well, I certainly not here to speak for Mayor Sonny, but I plan to be there because we do have some serious social justice issues facing the Charleston community. As you may know, the first year I was in office, I challenged the Charleston police on the stop and frisk policy, and that arose out of the shooting of Denzel Cornell. It's my belief, not just in Charleston, North Charleston, or statewide, but across the nation, that racial profiling does exist. And quite frankly, we in the police, North Charleston and Charleston, have made meaningful and I think genuine efforts to improve policing in general. But we have a lot more work to do. And that is why last week I authored and offered a citizens review panel mandate in connection with Bill 650 involving involving officer shootings, because I believe that we have failed to make significant improvements. I, as a public official, think that the forum tonight will benefit me in terms of public service. But the mayor has to speak for himself, sure. And the police chiefs. I don't know, why they made the decision they made. I'm going to be working with all of them, right. But it's incumbent upon me to be there as a public official. And quite frankly, I can't imagine after being invited not participating. Okay. But I'm just speaking for Marlon Kimpson. We got to do more than minister to the churches. Those audiences have been ministered to. We got to get out beyond the walls of the church. And I think you're seeing many community leaders now very frustrated with the amount of violence in our communities, and we're going to have to really try to apply some new approaches, because the ones that have been employed have not been working.
Walter Scott, 1 year later, you said the following on your website, quote, "We must continue to push forward as one, as unified people, less concerned about race and separation, but more focused on unity and full inclusion. We must remember that one bad officer does not represent the entirety of our law enforcement professionals who lay their lives on the line daily. We must remember that Walter Scott Jr. did not die in vain, so we must remain vigilant because there is so much more work to do." What do you want to do next?
Well, I think, as I mentioned a moment ago, we have to be serious about real reform, and that's why I authored the amendment to create a citizens review panel with subpoena power. And so, as you know, I was one of the primary sponsors of the Senate version, the version that passed the General Assembly, of the body camera bill. That was a big moment for South Carolina because Republicans and Democrats overwhelmingly in both houses, the Senate and the House, passed the bill. Unfortunately, it was in the aftermath of the Scott shooting.
Right.
I filed that bill. Senator Gerald Malloy and I filed that bill 4 months before the shooting. And of course, Representative Gilliard filed a version in the House before the shooting. And I was on the subcommittee where we had 3 hearings before the date of the Walter Scott shooting, which was in April. And what was really concerning was the lack of public response when we were having hearings on the bill. But after the shooting, of course, in the subcommittee meetings, the meetings were packed. And we got to stop being reactive and more proactive. And so what I would like to do is, and I've done this since I've been in office. This is my 3rd year being in office. I've served 2 years of a 3-year remaining term. File legislation. I have several bills pending where we aren't reacting to something, such as the Citizens Review. I mean, there's been not a recent police shooting, but that's something that we need to participate in. We can participate in now. And affordable housing legislation. It's an atrocity in Charleston that we don't have more affordable housing for working class people. And I have a minimum wage bill to increase the minimum wage. These are things that the public, we don't need to wait to get involved for a big incident. We need to push this legislation now. Also pending is gun reform. And so I have been an advocate of all 3 or 4 of those pieces of legislation so that we have a proactive agenda and we're not just reacting to certain events.
The proposed transgender bill. I know that Governor Nikki Haley basically says that bill is unnecessary. Richland County Sheriff Leon Lott basically told Watch Fox that it is unnecessary and unenforceable. You actually said this, quote, "We're now going to have the genitalia patrol checking birth certificates at the restroom door." When you think of the transgender bill, where are you emotionally?
Well, I was very clear. I was the first to speak out of any elected official in South Carolina. I took to the floor of the Senate the day after it was filed. And the only reason why I didn't do it the day it was filed is because we had a very important matter we had to move quickly to after Senator Bright filed the bill. But any form of discrimination, including sexual orientation discrimination, is wrong. When we have problems plaguing our community, such as the one you just mentioned, gun violence, and our desperate situation for a meaningful roads bill, and a desperate situation for affordable housing and livable wages, I cannot, in good conscience, rationalize, and no Republican or Democrat should be able to rationalize, us spending time trying to create bills in search of a problem. There's been no public outcry where people who are transgender or gay or lesbian have inappropriately used the restroom. They should be entitled to use the restroom of the sex that they have transitioned to. The evidence supports that things have worked well. The testimony from the mayors, I sat in the subcommittee, although I was not on the subcommittee. I will be at the full hearing. I plan to block the bill. But the evidence is that all of the mayors have worked extremely hard to embrace people for who they are. And any form of discrimination is number 1, wrong, number 2, constitutionally unsound and unfounded, but number 3, hurts us moving together, embracing diversity, and finally it hurts business. And so I'm adamantly opposed to any bill that would single out people and discriminate against them. Now, I've heard arguments on the other side, and I think some of those arguments have been well-intentioned, but we're missing the point. We have constitutional problems with this. There's not a problem in the state of South Carolina, and so the best thing for us to do is applaud diversity, allow people to choose. Their choices are not a function of what government believes. Choices are between an individual, his or her family, and their God, simply put.
Describe to me the following one word: South Carolina State University.
On the move, in a positive way.
Yes. Simmons Pinckney Elementary.
Very, very, very excited. I'm excited. I attended I know this is not one word, but I attended the naming ceremony a few days ago. Very, very excited about the possibilities of that school.
Shane Massey.
Shane, we ought to watch Shane. I think I will applaud him on his new majority position. But I'm hoping that the Republicans will focus on meaningful issues, not just in the Senate, but in the House too. We spend too much time, and I'm hoping his leadership will be different, talking about things that really don't move or improve the quality of life of South Carolinians.
Monday, March 21st. You actually filed for re-election for the seat that you currently hold. You won that particular seat in 2013 from a special election. And as you mentioned, you're 3 years in now, and you've done a lot. You actually said this on your website, quote, "I promise to fight for the working class people of District 42 in this entire state, and that's what I've done. I'm excited about the opportunity to continue to serve and move the state forward with progressive ideas, policy, and legislation." Talk to me about the ideas, legislation, policies you have in mind if you are reelected.
Well, as I mentioned, we have to pass bills that impact the average citizens of South Carolina. Minimum wage is poorly low. The state doesn't have a minimum wage. We track the federal minimum wage, $7.25. My legislation would make it escalated to 2020, $15 an hour. All of the labor unions support my bill. All of the working class grassroots organizations support my bill. But I can't get a hearing because the Republican majority continues to block us having this discussion. Affordable housing. I've authored 3 bills. Tax credit that mirrors the federal tax credit for home ownership. A increase in the documentary stamp fee by 20 cents, and also a 10% increase in the building permit. All resources to go to affordable housing. The encouraging part of that is the industries, the building industry, the real estate industry, and many grassroots community organizations have come to the table. We're going to have a summit when we break after June, and try to gather up enough support from all of these groups so we can start lobbying the Republican majority. And if we have a coalition put together, we can see some passage on that bill next year. I got a birth center bill. You know, if a woman wants to have their child, a family wants to have their child, or he or she wants to have a child in a birth center, we ought to allow that. There was a time where many children were born at home, and now you have a number of birth centers popping up, and I want to be supportive of for a woman to have that option. And so there are a lot of issues, affordable housing, standard of living, that we need to tackle. I'm just getting started. Sure. As you mentioned, I've been in office 2 full years. This is my 3rd, and we have a lot of work to do. District 42 is the epicenter for commerce of the state. What I have not yet seen any meaningful results from are the 3 economic empowerment and development procurement opportunity programs that I'm currently working on, that being in Children's Hospital MUSC, the Charleston County School District procurement plan under the $500 million bond referendum, and then the Charleston Airport. All of those programs I am currently spearheading to improve procurement opportunities for people of color who've historically been left out of the process. We got to look at the Post and Courier, or the project that's going in on Courier Square, Upper King, and then of course there's West End. We need to continue meaningful, substantive work. Fortunately, I can negotiate on the behalf of the people, and I'm not really looking to do something for myself because I practice law, and so I don't have a contracting company. I don't have a consulting company. I'm not trying to leverage this for Marlon Kimpson, but we need to leverage these opportunities for those businesses who have experience in these fields, such that they can move forward and participate in the epicenter of the commerce of the state.
Finally, you have received a lot of endorsements since your re-election filing from Charleston Mayor John Tecklenburg, Dr. Charles Watkins at Morris Brown AME, and of course Lucille Whipper. But there's that hurdle, Robert Ford. Where are you emotionally with that?
Well, it's not a question of where I am emotionally. We have a race to run. We are campaigning. We're knocking on doors. We're calling homes. The reality is that the seat was vacated. My predecessor served 20 years, and I have publicly applauded him for his service. I've attended several of his fundraisers when he had his debt retirement or fundraisers, and spoken very highly of him. And so I have good things to say about him. He will need to answer all of the questions that are pending before him. I'm going to focus on moving the legislation that I filed forward, and I think that's what the campaign is about. We got a hymn we sing, and don't worry, I'm not going to sing it. But may the work I've done speak for me. When the seat was vacated, we had a field of competitors. I think there were 7. And I won 80% of the vote. The first time I won 41%. Then we had to run off. I won 70%. And then I won the general election 80%. I am campaigning extremely hard because, no doubt, he was in the seat for 20 years and has a large following. I am not taking anything for granted. We are working extremely hard, but we're talking about our message forward. We're not focusing on any other thing. And so it's not an emotional issue. It's just more of a substantive message about how we move the district forward, recognizing where we were prior to me taking office.
State Senator Marlon Kimpson, it's always good talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.